welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the News at 10, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Ahead of next Saturday's supplementary election in Anambra State, political parties divided over exercise. Robbery suspect provides information leading to arrest of 8 others in Lagos. Our focus on health is about understanding what in medical parlance is called hemophilia. And Egypt tells Turkish ambassador to leave the country in protest over his prime minister's alleged provocative statement. All our top stories and other programs can be found on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. To get us on the move, visit channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows Phone from their respective stores. Well, you can now interact with Channel's Eyewitness feature on our Android and Windows 8 platforms. If you have a picture or video to share with us, all you need to do is download the Channels TV Android application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions to share your report, pictures, and videos. Now, Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, has once again stressed the need for the executive and the legislature to work towards the propagation of the rule of law as one of the cardinal principles of democracy. Addressing members of the State Executive Council, APC leaders, state and federal legislators, Governor Fashola said it is imperative for parliamentarians to open up to members of the public to enable them appreciate the nature of their work.
It's the 10th session of the Lagos State Government Executive Legislative Meeting, which was convened with the aim of promoting executive and legislative harmony. And on hand to address the August gathering is Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Fashola. He began by describing the legislature as the cornerstone of democracy, on whom the development of the nation rests, noting that they must always take the public along in whatever they do.
All of us must pay much more attention to the work that parliamentarians do, and parliamentarians share much more about the work that they do with us. When we hear about committee chairmen, we don't know how much attention that can pay to the role and responsibility of committee chairmen and committee members, and perhaps the voices of members and chairmen of certain committees should become much more prominent when national issues concerning those committees are in the front row.
The governor also pointed out the challenge of poor accountability, which he says has adversely affected every sector of government.
One of the areas of focus also is to see what is happening in the National Assembly, new legislation coming on stream. We bring the proposed bill down here. Our experts look at it. We discuss the impact on Lagos. And so this is what has brought us to the financial center bill. And like all legislation, we've looked at it. We think that there is the tendency in this bill for over-legislation. We think that the intent and purport of the legislature, the bill itself, is probably already well defined in the activities of the Stock Exchange and the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Central Bank, and other agencies of government.
At the end of his address, Governor Fashola challenged the parliamentarians to reflect on how to improve our elections and the Lagos Road Traffic Law.
Now, in medicine, when some conditions are diagnosed, the layman may ask, how did this happen? What could be the driving force? These are some other questions that might come up. This is the case of hemophilia, an inherited condition that affects the blood's ability to clot. A global study shows that Hemophilia is present in about 1 in 10,000 male births. And our focus on health tonight, our correspondent Yomi Otaigbe reports that hematologists in Nigeria say hemophilia diagnosis and treatment is a challenge in the country.
When you have a minor cut on any part of your body, you expect that the blood from that area, after a few minutes, stop flowing. But did you know that there are few people who would continue to bleed for a long time after a minor cut?
Ouch! One of such people is 35-year-old information management consultant Temitope Adiosun, whose right leg is deformed from internal bleeding owing to hemophilia, a group of genetic disorders that impair the body's ability to control blood clotting or coagulation.
It's not like malaria, for example, where you can feel there's something wrong with your body. Being a hemophiliac, you feel normal. Can't remember exactly. I would say I probably was around 7, 8, thereabouts. I had a spontaneous bleed. It was my most severe spontaneous bleed because it's happened rather very rapidly, as in the rate of bleed was high. My knee ballooned out. The pain was excruciating. Growing up between childhood and adulthood, I've had to manage it mostly by resting. Frequently, I've had to spend weeks, sometimes months, lying down, just lying down and waiting to get better.
Hemophilic bleeding could be mild, could be moderate, could be severe. 1/3 of cases may be as a result of a mutation, but 2/3 of cases it is inherited from usually the parent, and the parent that normally transfer the hemophilic gene to the male child is usually the mother. The mother has 2 X chromosomes. One chromosome is normal, the other chromosome carries the hemophilic gene.
Stories about the burden of hemophilia is not limited to Temitope. Mrs. Buki Megan, who has 2 children living with the condition, shares her experience.
I had my first son in March 6, 1996. And you know, in our community, circumcision is like a must. 10 days into life, I walked into the hospital to have him circumcised, and he won't stop bleeding. And I got home, found out the diapers were soaked with blood, and my mother-in-law was like, oh, maybe they didn't clean it well, and she changed the diapers, and in 30 minutes it was soaked again, and we changed, it was soaked again, so we had to rush back to the hospital.
The knowledge about hemophilia does not just seem very low in the wider population, but also among medical practitioners, some of whom find the diagnosis of hemophilia difficult.
And that is unfortunate, because that is why we lose a lot of Nigerians who are hemophiliac unrecognized. And that is why it is important that we must talking that there is a need to have to come out and let people know that we are losing a lot of Nigerians unrecognized as hemophiliac. Slight prolongation of umbilical cord after severance from the placenta. Everybody, every doctor, every midwife must suspect that that child must be an hemophiliac. And you do a circumcision and the male child does not stop bleeding on time, of course you must suspect that that individual is an hemophiliac. For today, what is available for treatment of hemophilia is replacement therapy. This individual lacks factor 8, give factor 8. It's as simple as that. Now, the source of factor 8 to be given is usually the issue, because it's a protein that the body synthesizes and is supposed to be present in the plasma. So, for now, in our practice, we extract other people's plasma and we have to transfuse when an individual is bleeding.
Presently, those of us affected have come together to form a support group called the Hemophilia Foundation of Nigeria. So together we are improving support for persons living with hemophilia and other types of bleeding disorder in Nigeria.
Hemophilia is a lifelong condition, and working to secure the best possible care, treatment and support for people with the disorder start with understanding it. Yomi Otaibi, reporting for Channels Television News.
Well, when the News at 10 returns, the Ministry of State for Finance justifies Islamic insurance banking. Get some business news. Join us again.